Okay. We are about to go live in a minute. In a minute. Okay. We are about to go live in a minute. Let me test this out here. We are about to go live in a minute. Let me test this out here. For some reason, it takes forever for this to register. So let me test this out here. For some reason, it takes forever for this to register. There we go. You can mute all this. I apologize for the feedback. I really should have just muted this shit, but you know, sometimes shit don't work out as planned. I apologize. So let me get the Jumbotron ready. I'm gonna have to go to my post. Go here. Show thread. There we go. Jumbotron. Your space. Welcome, all of my haters and lovers. You know I'm not one for an intro, but here we are at it again. We got 3 topics to talk about here. And was the remake worth it? This is just in general for all remakes here. Let me test my audio. For all remakes here, let me test my audio. It should kind of like register and fill in. I'll test that shit a little bit later. It's like the Bluetooth that kind of does it for me, which is hella annoying. All right, let me go ahead. What am I doing? It's in here. We got 3 topics to talk about. Typically, I don't usually do 3 topics, so I say, fuck it. It doesn't matter because guess what? It is always going to be long either way you look at it. One more time with the audio. We got 3 topics to talk about. Typically, I don't usually do 3 topics, so I say, fuck it. It doesn't matter because guess what? It's always going to be long either way you look at it. One more time with the audio. We got 3 topics to talk about. Typically, I don't usually do 3 topics. You guys don't hear all of the fucking nonsense that I'm going through right now. Let's test it. You guys don't hear all of the fucking nonsense that I'm going through right now. All right, so it looks like it's good now. Yeah, we got. Let me see here. Game of Night. Nintendo is there. They are an anomaly rather. So here's. I'm gonna give you like a little sample here. But before we go on, I want to tell you some of the shit that I normally go through at my job. So if anybody knows, I do speak to customers on the phone, and I was setting up a business proposition for this customer, and it was this guy's girlfriend's account. And she didn't want to handle it, so she let him handle it. I get everything set up for him. He needed to get the debit card ready, and he didn't have the debit card, so he had to actually go to his car to get the debit card, right? So that would be like, okay, cool, I get it. He goes to his car, so I'm sitting there making, kind of like small talk just to kind of make sure that when I'm talking, it's no dead air. That's what we are kind of training for. Lo and behold, he comes. I asked, I told his wife, girlfriend, whatever the fuck she was. I say to her, I say, hey, it's not normal it's not every day that I speak to somebody within the same state. And she's like, oh, okay. Who do you normally speak to? And I'm like Massachusetts, Virginia, and stuff like that. And I said, she said, well, do you like it in the state? And I said, not really, planning on moving down to Florida. And he comes back with the debit card. And and I'm like, as he's giving me the debit card, I'm like, yeah, I was actually kind of telling the girl's name in this card, Kimberly, that I was like, yeah, I'm going to move. And he was like, why would you do that? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? He was like, why the F would you do that? That's mad effing disrespectful. You don't talk to my girlfriend like that. I walk away from, I did that it's on purpose. I walked away to see if he was going to start talking to my girl like that. You did it. You lucky I ain't in front of you, my dude. I was like, bro, man, I can see where you live at. If I was off the hinges, I would punch a hole through you. Don't do it. Don't do it. But I just want to kind of tell you that's what was going on. That was kind of funny there. I was like, this dude don't fucking know. He don't get it. He about to find out. But everything kind of was smoothed out there. And I can't understand how you gonna be that insecure about your own chick. Word? You that insecure? Some random dude from a random company just sitting there talking about the person's moving. That was personal information. I should have told her. Should have been talking. I'm like, you can tell that she's done this shit before, and she probably cheated on the guy before, which is very interesting. So I was like, yo, homie, yo, get your chick. Anyway, we're gonna start here. So I just wanted to kind of lighten the mood up, get that shit going, and we are going to start off by talking about, by the way, Nintendo versus PlayStation. Give me a second. Get your chick. Anyway, we're gonna start here. So I just wanted to kind of lighten the mood up, get that shit going, and we are going to start off by talking about, by the way, Nintendo versus PlayStation. Give me a second. Get your chick. Anyway, we're gonna start here. So I just wanted to kind of lighten the mood up, get that shit going, and we are going to start off by talking about, by the way, Nintendo versus PlayStation. Give me a second. I knew it. I knew it. This shit ain't working. Hold on. My bad. I knew this wasn't going to work. I knew it. This shit ain't working. Hold on. My bad. I knew this wasn't going to work. I knew it. This shit is terrible. My apologies. It should be working now. I apologize. This shit always happens. It's like it's Twitter, actually. Let me see here. Let's see if it works now. Finally, God darn it. Okay. So if you could take your attention over to the Jumbotron, if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see this shit live. This is being streamed, by the way, both on YouTube and on Twitter. So I want to kind of bring something out there. The idea for this topic, right, is Nintendo and PlayStation and their fans, right? Here's the interesting thing, right? Because a lot of people, what's going on, Fatal? Get your ass up in this chat rooms. Making sure that shit works. I have to I'm on the paranoid shit, right? So I apologize. I have to leave the notation that occasionally this shit was a bumpy start. So here's the thing, right? A lot of people criticize Sony for doing the things that they're doing, putting games out on PC, working with their IPs, you know what I mean? Not releasing certain games and whatnot. And here's the difference, right? I want you guys, since you guys are on YouTube, I want you to take a look. Let's read a book. Take a look here at what was what's the sales numbers for Nintendo, right? Mario Kart. This is for the Switch, by the way, and I understand, and I'm going to get into why too. So this is what's going on. And I'll read this shit to you guys. Since you guys are here. Here's the interesting thing, right? Um, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, right? I'll read this shit to you. It sold 35.39. It doesn't matter if it was last year or not. We're splitting hairs at that point. But 35 million units on one platform. No PC, nothing included. Animal Crossing sold 32.63. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate sold 23.84 million units. Breath of the Wild sold 22.28 million units. That's worldwide, by the way. Pokemon Sword and Shield sold 21.10 million units. Mario Odyssey sold 20 million units. Mario Party sold 14 units. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu sold 13 million. Splatoon sold 12 million. Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe sold 10 million. Now, my reasoning for saying this, and I wish I had the numbers for PlayStation, right? I wish I had the number for the stuff that PlayStation has done. And the reason why I'm bringing this shit up, right, is because Nintendo could pop that ish. They could pop that ish because their fan base buys their shit. So the Switch now has about 111 million units, and almost a quarter of it bought into their titles. PlayStation had, let's say, 120 million, right? And they do have a lot of IPs, and their IPs are all different types of genres. And it being on PC and it being out for years and years and getting frequent price drops. God of War, I believe, sold 26 million units? Not even a quarter, something like a fifth. That was one of their biggest ones. Spider-Man is Spider-Man, so you really can't say too much about that one. It's going to sell out regardless, right? So what's happening here? What's happening with PlayStation versus Nintendo? Why can PlayStation do this, or Nintendo can do this, but not PlayStation? Well, the answer is very, very simple. Nintendo has powerful IPs, intellectual properties. It's powerful. People want these things, man. People, hobo, tough life. Okay, Fatal has become a hobo. Okay, I don't know what's going on with that one, but they can pop that shit. They can pop that shit. They can make sure that people buy their stuff because it is much older in terms of an IP, and it is also family friendly. We have stuff like Ghost of Tsushima that probably took like 150 million to make that game. All of the research and development going into different foreign countries and different areas and stuff like that. And the amount of money it takes for Sony to actually create an IP vastly eclipse the fucking what Nintendo uses to spend to create theirs. You know what I'm saying? So I made a pretty aggressive comment about how you can make a lot of these games on the GameCube that they have here. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Animal Crossing, and I was yelled out of the fucking room when I said this shit. I will say, it doesn't take that much. I would say their technology is around the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era. They can make, those consoles can make that. So I mean, the thing is, it doesn't cost that much money. They don't have any kind of voice actors or anything of that nature that can reuse the same sound effects, such as Mario, Zelda, or Mario. You don't have to keep getting the same guy or the same girl to actually make these particular, voiceovers. It just doesn't cost that much, and it's rated E. Anybody can pick this shit up. They don't have any kind of agenda or any kind of political leaning. They just fucking make Mario and this about some plumber that saving the world, and he has mushrooms and shit like that. There is no coherent storyline with that Um, Zelda is a fucking elf. You know what I'm saying? They have their own political things, but they don't really. It's nothing. Pokemon is Pokemon. You know what I mean? All you're doing is capturing animals and shit like that, making them fight. Basically, like dog fights. Low key, high key, low key, low key, high key, high key. You got Animal Crossing, which is like an MMO, like The Sims and stuff like that. And Nintendo seems to kind of understand their demographic. They understand, and they don't encroach, and they don't try to piss anybody off. There's nothing emotionally driven with these particular games in terms of trying to pull on some heartstrings or make you laugh. It's just literally about the gameplay and about how cute shit looks. That's about as far as it pretty much goes. There's nothing crazy about their storylines and whatnot. But you can't expect Sony to do the same thing with their stuff. Nintendo is Nintendo and PlayStation is PlayStation. They have different demographics. So sometimes I'll look at this and it gets frustrating, right? Let me test this out again. Okay, it works. It gets frustrating every time I would have these particular conversations or see these conversations online, and they say that, well, Nintendo could sit there and put out their games and not ever drop the price, you know, not do any of this shit. They just can release their games and people will buy it. The fan base is very different on PlayStation. I just wanted to kind of put it out there. Nintendo is in a completely different league than anybody, really. You know what I mean? They are the Disney to the movie industry. You know, that's what they are. It's not the same. It's not the same situation. And there's a lot of people that really believe that PlayStation should really be following suit. And it's like we won't get games like The Last of Us or Horizon or Gran Turismo or any of those things. All of those games either are really hard to play, like Gran Turismo, or are grappling with adult themes. You know what I mean? Even if it is rated teen. And on top of that, the PlayStation fan base, they don't even support their shit. They don't support it. They don't support it. They don't support their fan base at all. You got people that actually buy it. You know, it always makes me curious when I hear this stuff and they say that PlayStation is, you know, they're really abandoning. They don't know what they're doing with their fan base, but y'all guys are not buying it. Yeah, these IPs are old, and the older they are, the more weight that they will have. But the thing is, with the Marios and the Zeldas and the Metroid and shit like that, they are not intrusive. You can't really pin them on any kind of political leaning or anything, really. They're just kind of neutral. So it increases the amount of people that would actually pick that shit up. You know? People are going to want to play these games because they don't have anything to worry about regarding that shit. So it's always interesting to me where people make these arguments and they say that, you know, Sony's not doing what it takes to appease to their user base. Which brings me to the next topic here, which is Sony chasing profits. Michael Pachter, whatever the hell his name is, he had a little hit piece out for Sony as well, right? And I want to kind of put this out there, you know. Nintendo's in their own capsule. They're their own thing. You can't really, you know, they're one of a kind. They're one of a kind. You will not find a Nintendo-like company anywhere. That's one of the reasons why they can not drop the price of the Switch, right, for 5 years, or not drop the price of their video game consoles, or for their video games, excuse me, or not invest crazy amounts of money to try to draw people in. They're the separate thing, you know what I mean? Just like you can't replace Disney and Mickey Mouse and all those other people. They are their own thing. You're not gonna Nickelodeon tried to combat that shit and failed. They carved their own niche, and you can't break them out. They would have to royally mess up before it all collapsed on them. But let's take a look to see what Michael Pachter, what he had to say about anti-consumerisms or whatever the hell he says. I was always curious about this. Mr. Man says this: Sony is clearly chasing profits. Let's stop right there, right? Let's stop right the fuck there. What company isn't chasing profits? Because if that was the case, we would have gotten a full-fledged Pokemon game in its full glory, not some half step or some weird shit like that. You know what I mean? We would have gotten hardware that actually could, really make Mario and, Zelda look crazy fucking, realistic, or have a crazy art style and whatnot. We would have gotten all of those things, right? No. Nintendo doesn't need, and I'm not saying they should, but they don't need to chase. I mean, they don't need to do anything more. All they're going to do is worry about their bottom line, because they know that their fans are loyal. They're not going to sit there and try to inflate their development costs, trying to get more people. They are content where they are. That's why they're made of hardware that doesn't waste their money, like Nintendo or like Sony or Microsoft or any other person. They're making a profit off of that shit. He says that is their mission, but the long game is delighting consumers. Spending on E3, keeping customer prices steady, and charging $60 for first-party titles all delight consumers. No E3, which E3 is like, no one goes to fucking E3. It was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Console price boost and $70 games are not consumer friendly. So, as an analyst, I am actually shocked at that comment. And I know that you only have so many characters to work with on Twitter, but this shouldn't even have been said at all. Because it doesn't make sense as an analyst to say the things that he has said. Yes, every company definitely, positively chases the dollar bill. If that was the case, we would have had Steam Deck type levels of Switch. They did not want to waste their money, and we would have had some kind of crazy next generation looking Zelda game instead of it following an art style. That doesn't cost them that much money to make a Zelda game versus making something that looks like Horizon or whatever the hell you have it. Doesn't cost that much money. Another thing too, because you can always chase profit in any kind of way. There's many different ways of chasing profit, right? Many different ways. It's many different ways of chasing profit. You cannot want to invest that much money. You can try to save money as much as possible, and get as much money as you can. So I don't understand when he says chasing profits, because it costs a hell of a lot more money to make a game like Horizon Forbidden West and The Last of Us and Gran Turismo versus Mario Kart, Zelda, and Mario Odyssey, or or Splatoon. I fail to understand how you can have a branch of service or a branch of business. I guess I need to use that too. And it do $25 billion, right? And the only profit that you have is like $4 or $5 billion left after everything, after all the R&D is actually complete. I fail to see how that's chasing profit. I fail to see that. Let's break it down some more, right? He says spending on E3. Sir, E3 has been irrelevant since 2017. No one really goes to E3. Not even Nintendo. Not even if you bring up Nintendo. Keeping prices steady and charging actually, let me stop it there. Keeping console prices steady. Are you referring to releasing a console that you already made profit on by a large margin and not dropping the price and passing the savings on to the consumer? Are you referring to that, which Nintendo's been doing this shit since the Wii? If that's what you mean, keeping it steadily high What do you mean exactly, Michael? What do you mean? And then charging $60 for first-party titles, all delight the customers. Now, he should clearly understand, Michael Pachter, that development costs are inflating. The technology it takes to make these particular games, games that look really crazy and they look wild, and they have great voice actors and peach fuzz and large, detailed open world that is almost indistinguishable to real life. Those development costs. Do you think that the game should be $60? You think that it can be $60? What do you want the company to fall under? I don't understand your argument, Michael. I don't get it. You knew and that $60 was never going to stay, and especially I haven't even touched or scratched the surface. I haven't even scratched the surface of the economic downturn of our recession. I haven't even touched that. It's funny because you haven't said anything about Microsoft and how they were going to double the cost of Xbox Live, making that $120 a year. You haven't said anything about that, talking about some chasing profits. You haven't said about them breaking their game downs in quarters and pushing Game Pass with poor quality games that's from the first party or not releasing the games at all. You haven't mentioned that either. This is why you only have, and you mentioned this, August 30th. And it's the 3rd of September right now. And you only garnered 721 likes. Even though people are fanboys, everybody can clearly see that everything has been rising. Nintendo already started off with overcharging you for the Switch and its peripherals and their games. So any kind of fluctuation in the yen or any other currency isn't going to affect them, or at least they can at least hold out longer than any other company. Whereas it's costing these companies, Microsoft and PlayStation, billions of dollars to make these shits. Charging $60 for first-party titles. Were you even fucking alive when N64 happened? Did you know that making cartridge games and they were passing their costs over to customers, those games were $89, $79, $69, Michael? Did you realize that too? I know you old as hell. I know you had to have been there at some point. You're an analyst, right? How do you have a job? I fail to understand how you have a job. Failing so hard every time. Let's look at the comments of this, though. Let's see if people are sane, right? Let's see if everybody else could pick this shit up and be like, Michael, like chill out. You know what I'm saying? Like let's see if anybody else could be smart about this shit and just completely understand that. What are you talking about, buddy? So Suki, I don't know how to pronounce the rest of your name. Akatsuki? Nigga, fix your name. You black. Look at this dude. You black with your Akatsuki. I can't pronounce it. But let's go back. He says no one gets excited about E3 like they used to, and COVID affected live events for a while. Obviously, $70 isn't the issue when people pay $100 for collector's edition or $100+ for new controllers. Yeah, about the controllers too. You don't say nothing about that, do you? Now Microsoft keep releasing these damn controllers in different colors and shapes, but there's no games to play with these controllers. I digress. All it shows to me is that if the consumer wants it, they will buy it. I mean, you look at the iPhones. If the consumer wants it, they will buy it. That iPhone 13 will work just as fine, but when the iPhone 14 comes out, people are going to be clamoring over that shit. Trust and believe. They're going to go absolutely ape shit. The same thing with the new earbuds. The same thing with the fucking Galaxy phones. The fold phones. There's no reason why you should have a fold phone. It does the same shit. Fold it for what? Just scroll up. Having no games is consumer friendly. C-Fresh says, yo, I like for you. I like that. Let's see what this guy has to say. It looks like he's about to say some fuckery. Having no games is a meme, not a reality. The competition has plenty to play because first party is the minority of games. Number two, you're comparing a short-term problem that has already been addressed to a generation-long problem that's worse for its consumers. And he says, not smart. I wish there was a dislike button, Mr. RED, Red Ring of Death. You got to understand this, right? This problem was an issue to place for Microsoft for almost 20 years. They did not invest in first party. They didn't care about the consumers. They wanted you to pay. That's paying online. That's fucking anti-consumer and chasing the dollar. I totally forgot about that. And in terms of them buying a whole fucking publisher, we were always going to get these games, and that's why the media is looking into this shit, or I should say, the people that have something to do with competition, they're looking into whatever their names are. They're looking into this because they already know, like, that fugazi shit. We would have gotten those games anyway. That's them buying a studio and keeping it from other people is not competition. Red Ring of Death. So tired. I'm already going to know I'm going to like what he have to say because he posts a picture, and it's exactly what I was mentioning before, which is fucking awesome. No E3, Sony had the best state of play ever. Swear, announce exclusives. Also, tell me third parties to bring prices back down to $60. So let's open this up to see what I was talking about before, right? Acclaim had, I can't read that, NBA, $90 game, NFL, $95. Fucking all of the wrestling games were fucking fucking Stargate. You know that game is booty cheeks was fucking $85, $89. This is regular shit in the US. They want to throw a little white kid on there to make it look believable. Look, bro, like what are we doing here, sir? I don't understand the argument. Let's read a couple more before we go on to the last topic here. Don't get me wrong. I wish the price hike didn't happen, but most of their products have gone up in price this year. Everything went up. PlayStation is PlayStation, Sony's bread and butter. And let's not forget how badly things were when going for Sony as a company not all that long ago, and it's true. So new phones have went up, TVs, the other consoles, PC parts, or is it just PlayStation 5? Here's this hairy ass gorilla. That's his name, by the way. Not in the US where Xbox is close to them. It's greed. It's fucking making sure you survive as a company. What do you mean greed? Were you supposed to be getting it for free? I bet you your green ass didn't say nothing when Microsoft was fucking about to double the charge of fucking Xbox Live. That's the funny thing. That's the funny thing about all of this. Yes, TVs went up. Yes, phones went up. Phones used to be $800. The following year, $1,000. The following year, $1,200. And now we got phones that are $1,300 to $1,600. And in terms of price inflation going up, regardless of the technology, Microsoft has also raised their prices in India and various markets. It's going to fucking happen. So let's read one more. Spending on the E3 is not objective waste for everyone at this point, or is an objective waste for everyone at this point. Post a YouTube video for free instead. Console price hike sucks. Yes, $70 games in the industry is an industry thing, not a Sony thing. But yeah, let's blame Sony on everything. What the fuck? Yes, for the profit business is interested in making money. It's so crazy. Like, my dude, why don't you work for free, Michael? Why don't you just work for free? You know what I mean? Like, you're greedy for wanting us to pay for your articles and whatnot. Come on, bro. Let's be realistic here. Speaking of greed, right? Ooh, this is going to be a short episode. I like it. Nobody wanted to speak or nothing. Excellent. Speaking of greed, right? Let's go on to our last topic and talk about the remake. Now, this have been discussed a lot about The Last of Us, right? Now, everyone's going to just automatically assume that this shit is complete greed, right? Everyone's going to say that it's greed. Why is there a $70 remake of a remake? You know, and Digital Foundry actually had a video about this today. Digital Foundry's Twitter handle posts this tweet. Rounding off our coverage of The Last of Us Part 1, Dark 1X and Olimac compare notes on the new version, cover gameplay differences and improvements, and tackle the key questions head on. Did The Last of Us Part 2 really need a remake? And they do go into this topic here. This is a very interesting topic because here's the thing. Is it that people are concerned about the game being remade, or is this a particular problem with The Last of Us? Are people just fatigued about this game, about the pain they had to endure by playing The Last of Us Part 2 and seeing all the emotional roller coaster and all of the fucking controversy? Which, you know, the funny thing is, Neil Druckmann can't get enough. This bastard can't get enough. He can't get enough. He cannot get enough. That's the funny thing about it, right? What is this guy's name? The voice actor of Joel. I can't think of his name for some reason. I have so many different names right now. But the guy, the voice actor who did Joel, right? He's takes a picture of him in front of a golf club store, right? So he posts this picture, and then he posts the emoji that's thinking, right? Rubbing the chin. And I'm like, bro, you just can't get over the fact that you got any backlash for your game. That people just did not like that particular game. I'm not saying all people. I'm just saying there are people out there, including myself, that did not like what was going on in that game. Fine. That's another topic. But here's the thing. The reason why I brought that up in particular is that you gotta think about it, right? Now, there's a possibility that people just flat out just are tired of zombie games, tired of post-apocalyptic games. They may just be tired. And so seeing this game again, it's like, why? The same reason why people gave a bad review score and they just didn't really like that Morbius movie. It's just superhero fatigue. You know, they're just tired of seeing it. If it ain't the best of the best or my favorite superhero that everybody likes that's mainstream, I don't want to have anything to fucking do with it. And I think that's what The Last of Us Part 1 is suffering from. It's suffering from that more so than anything. It has nothing to do with that being a remake. Now, here's the thing. Let's back it up. What does come with The Last of Us Part 1 is all of the assets from The Last of Us Part 1 is basically redone. And it's been fitted into the engine that created The Last of Us Part 2. Right? I know people are going to say that this game looks like next gen and you know, it's one of the best looking games out there, but I assure you it's art based, right? It's not using this console to its full capabilities. Neither was Horizon Forbidden West, neither was Ratchet and Clank. One of the ways that you could tell is the loading times. These consoles, right? The PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, it is designed to use the SSD to swap assets out because there's a finite amount of memory and just effects that you can place on the screen at once. So their objective is to be fast enough to when you are looking away from the camera to unload those assets and then load new ones before the camera even meets that vision or that field of view. That way, there's nothing behind the character or very little behind the character. And they can put all the detail that would be presumably behind the character in front of your face. And as you turn away from it, it starts to unload the game and then load where necessary. You can tell that this game isn't a next generation game. I could definitely tell there was some sort of executive decision internally to make this a PlayStation 5 exclusive, to say that it was built from the ground up. to give that basic marketing to say that this is a PS5 game, so more people that have the PS5 can buy it. There's that element. And let's not forget, too, that the PlayStation 5 cross generation games that are exclusive, they don't sell that well on the PlayStation 4. So I think somewhere in the middle, they were like, I need to focus directly on the PlayStation 5. I can't really be tweaking and modifying the game for the PS4. That's going to take too much time out. We got other projects. Let's just say that this game is going to be built from the ground up. And let's just brute force this engine because it looks so close to The Last of Us. It's just like slightly better, which was a great looking game in the beginning. Or anyway, The Last of Us Part 2. That's what this game looks like. It looks almost exactly like this game. You got better models, of course. You know what I mean? You have higher resolution reflections and effects, of course. It's on the PlayStation 5. It has more memory. You know what I mean? It could do brute force. Those things works. You know what I mean? So I get it. I totally get it. You know, but here's the thing, right? Nintendo needs to be smacked. Stop that. Neil Druckmann needs to be smacked. Stop that. So I totally get it, right? That was a decision. I can guarantee you, if Naughty Dog or any of the people that actually made their next generation or their engine next generation, it'll be specifically. What's going on, Silky? It'll be specifically. It will look better than The Last of Us Part 1. You could tell that it's not utilizing the PlayStation straight up because guess what, right? The loading times still suck. There's no reason why it takes 7 seconds for Horizon Forbidden West, which is an open world game, to load up, right? And it takes 8 seconds for a linear game to load up. And furthermore, you got Ratchet and Clank that's just basically instantly loads things. You know what I mean? Or Spider-Man, Miles Morales, that just instantly loads things. Yeah, you can talk about carpet physics and shit like that. It's a linear game. You know what I mean? Like, you want to talk about carpet and deformation and shit like that. There's sand deforms in Horizon, which is an open world game, and so does snow and shit like that. So you can the same type of technology. So let's not jerk off because of that. You know what I mean? Let's not go crazy. But the problem here with The Last of Us Part 1 is that so many people are kind of attributing, you know, it's blowback because of the $70 price tag. And I don't think it's a $70 price tag. I think, honestly, because I guarantee you, right? It's the fatigue. I guarantee you if it was Bloodborne, people would have went crazy. And people say that we already had a remake of a remake. So let's look at another game that has basically a remake of the remake. I mean, you got a lot of last generation games that did the same thing, too. It's like, it looks markedly better than the PlayStation 4 version. So there's not even that. And it runs at a higher resolution. You know what I mean? But this was a weird marketing strategy because they said that it was enhanced gameplay from the ground up. And yes, technically that's true, but it's so marginally different. And I've spoken to a lot of the fans of the original Last of Us, and everybody agrees, including this Digital Foundry video, that barely anything has changed. The same encounters. Some of them wish that there was some sort of remix mode where you can jump in and kind of like, you know, it switches the enemies around or switches the placement around and things of that nature. And that would work. Like, we all know that we should know that, yes, this is a cash grab. But I wonder, because the same thing happens with Grand Theft Auto. They could just keep making that almost fucking 10-year-old game over and over again. Throw some ray tracing in that bitch. Ray tracing shadows, like, and that's it. Add a 60 frames per second mode by lowering the resolution. Like, everybody could do shit like that and just keep it moving. But nobody says anything about that. That's still an old ass game. Old ass assets. All they did was add some clean shadows and kept it the fuck moving. But when Naughty Dog does this, right, they change completely the characters and all of the assets. They are not reusing any assets from the original Last of Us, but they are using the same rendering pipeline and the rendering workflow of The Last of Us Part 2, which makes this game look almost identical to The Last of Us Part 2, except in a different setting. You can't go too far out with the animations and different move sets because that level design is built based off of that. They can't go too crazy with the AI because, again, the level design is built off of that. So people are saying that they could have remixed this game a little bit, you know what I mean, to make it worthwhile. And then when you ask that question, it just lets me know that people are tired of The Last of Us. That's really what it boils down to. And this is what happens when you blow up into monumental, like stratosphere type levels in terms of popularity, and you don't really utilize it, and you're doing all these controversial things. Eventually people get tired of the controversy and they're like, I've just had enough. We all know that this is about the show, you know what I mean? We all know that this is about the PC. If it's not about the show, it's definitely about the PC, and people need to understand that. They need to get that information, that this is about the PC. There are a lot of PC players that haven't played The Last of Us, and one of the reasons why they haven't played it is they never picked up a PS3 or a PS4, and they're probably not going to pick up a PS5 either. So this $70 game was going to be completely brand new to them. But John from Digital Foundry brought up another thing, because there's no multiplayer. We all know this, and we all know that there's less stuff here than the original game because there's no multiplayer component. True, right? But why didn't you include The Last of Us Part 2 in this? Your assets are clean enough, and you have next generation assets that use physically based physically based lighting. You have that technology there, and you have higher resolution assets. So you would have just been able to use the top LOD version of those assets and then kept it moving. How come you didn't include part 1 and part 2 and then sold that shit for $70? People would have felt some kind of way. People would have been like, I see, that makes sense. You know what I mean? People would have been like, that makes sense. I feel that. But you only have this game and the Left Behind DLC, and then there's no multiplayer, which we all know that there's going to be a free-to-play multiplayer. Now it's starting to be very apparent that this shit is going to be free-to-play, for sure. And that's understandable, right? But you got to ask yourself that, too. So I'm seeing a lot of interesting conversations about this game, and it's not really about The Last of Us Part 1. It really boils down to people are tired of the game. That's what it is. So it really boils down to that. People are kind of tired of the series, and they want to see something different. They're probably sick of the fucking melodrama that goes along with this particular game. You know what I mean? You're still like Neil Druckmann, after 2.5 years later, you're still talking about how Joe got bashed in the head and killed that way with a golf club. Like, you're still on that shit. People didn't like it. Grow the fuck up. Grow up. Grow up. It's okay. You know, everything you do is going to be a hit. So it's life. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. But people are looking for a Naughty Dog to make something different. Maybe something like The Punisher or something of that nature. You know what I mean? And maybe do a Marvel IP, which I don't want them to go crazy on Marvel IPs in general. I don't like Marvel that much. I'll talk about that shit another day, but I'm not really feeling Marvel. But. So here's the thing. I wonder, and this is a question I have for everybody that's watching. I wonder. What remake would you want that would be worthwhile? Like, what would you say that needs to be brought into the PlayStation if you were playing on PlayStation 5? I'm going to take a look here and look at my own games really quickly before we close out here. Shaq Fu, what's going on, man? The PC remake was mostly for the PC crowd. And that's what I was thinking too, man. Like, you're so on point with that shit. I'm literally thinking it was really for the people. For the PlayStation community is pretty selfish because they want everything to be about them, and Sony is not going in that direction. We all know that that's a big fucking issue. You know, when it comes to like all the outcry for PlayStation, right? So we all know that The Last of Us, not Last of Us, I'm sorry, Bloodborne is one of the biggest, like, everybody wants that Bloodborne remake, right? But I'm thinking about it, right? I think I'll be pretty stoked if they made The Witcher. If they made The Witcher a next generation remake. They already did it with Cyberpunk. You know what I mean? And that's good shit. It's good shit, you know? Um let's see what other games. They already did Demon Souls. They remade the hell out that game. Maybe Gravity Rush. You know I'm a fan of Gravity Rush. Every turn I'm always going to promote Gravity Rush for sure. Maybe the old Ratchet and Clank, possibly. You know, the 2019, 2018 one. I feel like those games, if they were to come out, I guarantee you. This is my point. Listen to me. I guarantee you, people wouldn't. And I'm mentioning more recent games, right? Because I guarantee you, people won't complain about that shit. As a matter of fact, if they were to remake God of War and add next generation Kratos, next generation fucking Atreus, next generation environments, people wouldn't say a damn thing. I guarantee you, if they made Ghost of Tsushima for the PS5, people wouldn't say what. They wouldn't say anything. I don't think people would complain about it. I'm being deadly serious. I know that wouldn't be a case. I know deep down, that wouldn't be a case. I don't think if they charge $70 for God of War to look like a PlayStation 5, an official PlayStation 5 game, people wouldn't say shit. So the problem here is that if they made The Last of Us Part 1 a PlayStation 4 game and a PlayStation 5 game, is going to be messy in terms of the pricing because there's no PS4 game that costs $60, and they're going to lose money on that way. So in a sense, Michael Pachter was right. That's the previous conversation that we had. But think about it though. Think about it. Really, real talk, real talk. Think about it, right? You got to understand this. Every company is out for your money. I bet not hear shit if they make Red Dead Redemption 2 and they make it a next generation title and they charge $70 and say that there's new multiplayer or whatever the case is, because that's just a generation old. I bet not hear shit at all. But that's the thing. Ask yourself this question. If they were to take a PlayStation 4 game and made that shit into a next generation game, what the PS5 could really handle, would it really be a problem? Because deep down inside, I truthfully believe that the problem with this remake has nothing to do with people complaining about $70 games. I think it has all to do with the fact that it's The Last of Us in general. And it should be a lesson for everybody when it comes to a user base. Don't ever split your user base up. Don't ever do anything drastic to your. I mean, you can do what you want, really, but you suffer the consequences. Like Naughty Dog and Friends and Neil Druckmann. I guarantee you, if Joel didn't die, I think that there wouldn't be too much of a problem. Honestly, I think that people would have been able to review the game in a less judgmental way and be like, well, I didn't really like how that felt. You know what I mean? I felt like it was a worse storyline or whatever the case is, but I don't think that people will go crazy and lose their mind. So I'm going to read some of the comments, right? The remake for the PC, this is Jeremy. What's going on, Jeremy? The remake for the PC, hold your pony tears. It is. And what Shaq Fu says is that he actually wants Infamous 1 and 2, man. On one side of the fence, man, I'm a little bit pissed. I ain't gonna lie to you that they're not really focusing on Infamous right now. But on the other side, I do actually like, I really like Ghost of Tsushima. But I still want a superhero that's not tied to Marvel. Make that shit, make that shit more mature. You know what I mean? Like DC. You know what I mean? That's where Infamous needs to go. DC. You know, DC. PC ain't gonna buy two or spend money on factions and then get a 10-year-old remaster as a part of one. Not happening. What do you mean? I think truthfully, deep down inside, Jeremy, I think deep down inside, they know that The Last of Us Part 2 is going to paint The Last of Us Part 1 in a bad light. I think they know that, and they want to disassociate themselves as much as it pains them from The Last of Us Part 2. Because like I said, if Joel didn't die, it wouldn't have been a problem. People would have been like, yeah, I played the game. I like the first one better. You know what I mean? But I could play this one. There was just so many poor design decisions in that game. Not even story-wise. It was too much talking, not enough combat. You know what I mean? It was too linear. And when they did open up the environment, you could barely do anything within their environment and shit like that. I would pay big bucks for The Witcher 1 and 2. Even I said that too. If I guarantee you, if they were to remake The Witcher 3 and put it PlayStation 5 and then charge that shit like $70, I don't think people would be complaining about that shit. Neil Druckmann thought that PlayStation fans were movie buffs. Gamers don't like their favorite characters being killed. And I don't think any fucking body does. It's not even just movie people. Nobody wants that shit. And they try to guilt trip you into, trying to like that bullshit. You spend so much time trying to get people to feel your story. You know what I mean? Oh, okay. This is grizzled hard guy, and he don't want to. His heart is hardened, and his little girl softens his heart, and he ends up saving her against all odds. They painted the Fireflies as monsters as well. You know what I mean? But because they want to pull on the heartstrings and piss people, like really make you feel in an emotional state, it was like, oh, I got a great idea. Let's kill the main character. Since they like him so much, let's kill him. They're going to be really like, I can't stand Abby, you bitch. You know what I'm saying? And that's not how things go. You took a gamble on something that cost too much damn money. And yeah, you can still be salty online and, walk in front of a fucking golf club store and be like, ho, it doesn't hurt me much. Like every time you post something about a Troy Baker is his name. Every time you post something about like a fucking golf club store or whatever the case is, I could tell deep down inside, Neo, you fucking hurting. You fucked up your own IP. And this is why people are actually pissed off at the fact that there's another fucking Last of Us. I don't even think a lot of people want The Last of Us Part 2. I don't even think they want, Part 3. I don't even think they want that shit. I don't think they even want that. They are tired of this series. A lot of people wouldn't mess with The Last of Us on PC for upcoming factions or Part 2 if they got to start out with one with a 10-year-old game or 10-year-old looking game on PC. They ain't doing that. Yeah, like Shaq Fu said, Shaq Fu was hit the nail on the head. There's for the PC crowd. And what they ended up doing is they played up on the fan base. You know what I mean? There's a certain amount of money that they're going to get with this copy. You know what I mean? There's a certain what do you call it? Amount of people that really likes, PlayStation stuff. Probably about 3 to 5 million. And also too, you can tell that this is, I wouldn't say a low effort because they had to remake all of the assets. But all you gotta do is look at the assets that you have, and then find something to replace those props and assets, and then put it in the lighting engine that you have for your existing game. You know what I'm saying? By the way, Jeremy, I've been playing The Witcher, and it has some of the best voice acting in the game. It is nice, man. It is nice. But the gameplay is so janky, so buggy. I had a couple of cutscenes where certain characters just didn't say anything. The fucking cutscenes are jiggling all over the fucking place. The characters are blurred out for no reason at all. Geralt is fucking, he's fucking janky and shit like that. And You know what I mean? Like the world is fine. It's just the animations, the characters are doing weird, glitchy ass things. I'm gonna tell you right now, with all of the issues that they have, the voice acting and the storyline is just too fucking compelling. It is too compelling. And I could get why people were kind of like, yeah, this is a nice fucking game. Shaq Fu says, disagree. Love part two. Ready for part three. Still upset that Joe died, but I like Abby. You like Snoo Snoo. Nelson says there was a lot of questions unanswered. Like what questions? Her hand got bit. Her finger got bit the fuck off, right? And that's it. You know what I mean? What's her name? Dina left. Dina was out. She said, if you want out and put my child and my life in danger, you gotta go. So what? And Ellie is immune. No one's there. There's no scientist to extract her fucking essence to see if they can make a cure. And even if they did, everybody's fucked up. I don't think that they left this shit unfinished. Abby and Ellie just decided to agree to disagree, and that was the end of it. I don't know what loose ends are you referring to. Neil Druckmann hit The Last of Us with a golf club. Let me take a look here. Yeah, it is better than any Bethesda game for sure. For sure. I give you that. But all this rhetoric about remakes not being worth it, that's the biggest thing for me, right? That's the biggest issue for me. There's too many people out there that want to superimpose their ideas, about the PlayStation night or about, this game shouldn't have been remade. It's not for you. It's not for you. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. Anybody that's telling you, any reviewer or anybody is telling you that I don't see the purpose of this shit, you can't. I don't see the purpose of a PC. Niggas will say I don't see the purpose of a PlayStation or Xbox. Console players is going to say I don't see a purpose of the PC. That's what they're going to say. It's not for you to decide. You can say that I'm not going to buy it, but you can't shame and guilt people into not buying it. You can't shame them. They wanted to buy it. They're fans of it, right? You got Shaq Fu. He said he likes part two. You got Jeremy or Nelson Gamer, and he says that, he's looking at the shit, and he's like, I have some unfinished answers or unanswered questions. And I want to know about the universe and stuff like that. If they remade a Gravity Rush, right, I'll be all up on that bitch. They can make it right now, yo. No questions asked. I would instantly buy it. Instantly buy it. I'm not going to think about it. I don't need to know anything. If the money is had, I'm picking this shit up, and I'm picking up a collector's edition or both Gravity Rushes. That's how much I like that game. Why do I like those games? I don't know. It just drives with me because it works. You know what I mean? I don't even feel that way if they made a Ghost of Tsushima. It looks nice. It already looks nice. But The Last Guardian, if they were to remake that game 60 frames per second, all the assets that they really wanted to do on the PS3, they made that shit for the PS5. That's an instant buy too. Instantly. No questions asked. That's the kind of, I like weird shit, but I thought about that. Some of my friends were telling me about this shit. They were like, yo, why you like games like that? I don't know. I like weird shit. I do. I've always been that way. I like unorthodox things. Drive Club, instantly. I don't need to, no questions asked. No questions asked. I don't need to think about it. Give me the date. It's already bought. Pre-ordered. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? I would even go as far as to say that if they took the Horizon Zero Dawn and made that shit to Horizon Forbidden West and really make it look like Horizon Forbidden West, that's also bought. No questions asked. I don't need no questions. No questions. No questions. It's just who you are and how you feel about it. You know what I mean? But I can't tell. People would look at me like, why would you even buy those games? Why would you? I like it. I want to see it in its best light. And if you keep making that shit better and better, I'm gonna buy it. Every time. Every fucking time. Just too many people want to make a stance and want to be important and shit. Oh, I can't believe Nintendo, or I can't believe Sony. Oh, who gives a fuck? Like, why is Digital Foundry making a whole video about it? Is it worth it? It is fucking worth it to somebody. You know, I see a lot of my friends be messing with chicks that are, in my opinion, are not worth it, but I can't encroach. You know, when I say messing with chicks, they married these chicks that was cheating on them, you know, and they know about the cheating and they still with them. They find some worth in it. I can't say much. I tried to finish The Last Guardian and Ico, but the 30 frames hurts. I like those types of games. Japan Studios was underrated. Yeah, they were underrated. People didn't see the genius of those things, and the management should have told them to clean up the controls. You know what I mean? Gave different options and stuff like that. I love Ico too. It is a simple game. I would have fucked with the game. You know what I mean? The atmosphere was just, it was one of those games where you just soak in the atmosphere, man. It's fucking lovely. Lovely shit. But I think I spoke too much, and we're going to end this episode. I appreciate everybody that has actually watched this all the way through, hear me rant for an hour. I really appreciate you guys. Don't forget, if you're not following my YouTube channel, it's right up there. It's called Illicit Therapy. Like the video, share the video. I don't understand. I guess sharing videos is difficult. Share these damn videos. What are you ashamed of that you listened to this episode? What are you ashamed? Is that what it is? Is that what it is? You like this shit? You sat here for an hour and listen. Yo, share this shit. Apparently you liked it enough. But I am